This Bitcoin OG is going all in on a MSTR copycat. But the unique thing about what Adam Back, the OG of OGs, is doing is not only that there is the potential of buying a bunch of Bitcoin with his company, BSTR, but it's what he's saying in the news that I think everybody is really neglecting and not keeping a close enough eye on. So we're going to go into all of that. But first, we've got to hear about the unique partnership between Cantor Fitzgerald and BSTR here from this clip.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I think that there are going to be just a couple winners here. I think that BSTR will be one of the winners. We're showing up with a bulldozer and a permit to clear cut Bitcoin. We're going to, open up in the 4th spot, and we think that we'll very quickly slingshot into number 2. That's our mission. We're really trying to create a fortress-like environment for our Bitcoin and really trying to position ourselves as the Berkshire Hathaway of the Bitcoin ecosystem.
So 2 things there. They want to be the Berkshire Hathaway of the Bitcoin ecosystem. And for those of you who don't know, Berkshire Hathaway has the most cash on their balance sheet than anybody, right? So he quickly wanted to position himself into number 2. Well, if you look at here in Bitcoin treasuries, well, that would mean 50,000 Bitcoin right off the jump. And they quickly jumped into the number 4 spot here with the first initial buy of over 30K Bitcoin straight from the jump. But it's interesting what Adam Back has also been saying on X here recently, where he's essentially saying, hey, what are your top 3 altcoins in your portfolio? He said none of them, never owned one. They're all going to zero. But Adam Back is going all in on a new Bitcoin treasury company. So what does that say about the Bitcoin OGs who are now getting into these treasury companies? Because I think it's always a unique aspect where at first they were all screaming from the rooftops, Bitcoin, Bitcoin only. But now it's a thing of watch what they do, not what they say. And what are they doing? They're going all in on plenty of different Bitcoin treasury companies. And Adam Back's BSTR, the Bitcoin Standard Treasury Company, well, this is just another example. And so going into this firm with 30K Bitcoin and $1.5 billion worth of buying power. And it's interesting with who he went with, because he went with Cantor Fitzgerald. And for those of you who don't know, Cantor Fitzgerald's, used to be run by Howard Lubnick. And Howard Lubnick is now a part of Trump's party, and he's in charge of running the sovereign wealth fund for the United States. Well, when that comes about. And the unique thing about Cantor Fitzgerald, well, look at this portfolio. 49.9% all in on MSTR. So basically 50% of the portfolio. The other thing is, too, is if you look, all right, NVIDIA. What does NVIDIA really have to be around? AI and Bitcoin, right? Because they're making all of these chips. They have the IBIT ETF, 3.2%. AMD, another. And then they have Rumble here with 2.46. What does Rumble have? Well, Rumble has Bitcoin on their balance sheet. And then they got a hodgepodge of all these others. They used to have Tesla. The interesting thing is that's nowhere to be found now. Maybe it's down a bunch in these percentage of their shares. But regardless, a majority of this portfolio is all about and surrounding Bitcoin. And number of publicly traded companies with more than 10K, 5K, 500, 200 Bitcoin, it's jumped. And BSTR and DJT, Donald Trump Media, jumped into that 10K spot really quick. And the number of these Bitcoin treasury companies popping up is multiplying. It's becoming exponential, folks. It's not slowing down. And we've even got Cathie Wood, another OG, saying that it's only the beginning. Now let's listen into what she had to say.
The $100 billion that I mentioned, institutions have to either take up those newly minted Bitcoin, and that's going to happen over years and years, or they'll have to pay up to get holders to sell it. So again, scarcity value will drive or will increase because of the supply-demand imbalance with.
So she's talking about the supply and demand imbalance, and we're going to get into that here in a minute, because I think that, it is unique on what we're seeing. Obviously, Bitcoin is one of those where we're seeing just how scarce and how truly scarce Bitcoin is. I think it's a unique aspect that nobody has really grasped just yet. I mean, we're seeing Bitcoin getting scooped off exchanges at an all-time rate. And on top of it, we're seeing OTC desks getting scooped, our Bitcoin off of OTC desks get scooped off as well. But another unique aspect with all of this, right? I mean, we see the multiple MSTR copycats popping up left and right. And we'll get into what Michael Saylor is even doing here to further his MSTR flywheel here a little bit later. But the unique thing is that we saw some of this happening last cycle. We saw a lot of companies blow up and explode. Now, it's interesting kind of the comparison that they were asked about, or at least Michael Saylor was asked about here recently. And I want you guys to listen into this clip as well.
So the thing about this market is the Bitcoin treasury company movement is traditional companies trading in the public markets that have adopted the Bitcoin standard. It's not crypto companies. So it's impossible for them to actually generate or take on the leverage the crypto companies took over.
So this is a clear distinction that Michael Saylor is lining out, is that last cycle we saw a lot of crypto companies get levered up. And that's the whole worry with these new Bitcoin treasury companies is, all right, they're getting a bunch of leverage. They're getting a bunch of debt to now buy more and more Bitcoin. So should we be worried about another explosion? That's what everybody's always saying, right? These explosions that we could be potentially seeing, is it going to show a huge negative effect? Is there going to be another FTX? Are these blowups going to be something that are of the past, or are these blowups going to be something that we should anticipate here going forward, and why, to be honest? So with all of this, right, we're looking at the differences and the changes with all of this here. And now we are starting to see the Bitcoin on exchanges get absolutely scooped up off here, right? We have 2.14 Bitcoin on exchanges right now currently, but we all know that these buyers, they're not going to Coinbase, for example, right? They're not going to all of these different, they're not logging into a Coinbase account or a Robinhood account and buying Bitcoin directly from there. They're going to the OTC desks. And something unique that not a lot of people are talking about is the rate of Bitcoin getting scooped up off of OTC desks, as well as going off of just the general, exchanges. Because look at the date of this article, right? October 30th, 2024. Bitcoin approaches all-time high as daily OTC inflows drop to years lows. But we saw the amount of OTC or Bitcoin on over-the-counter desk. Look at this. 416,000 Bitcoin over on OTC desks to start alone. Well, what did we see? It hit a 10-year low of 156,000 BTC at the beginning of this year. So that means 300,000 Bitcoin was getting scooped up off at a quicker rate than these OTC desks could buy Bitcoin and continue to hodl it on their OTC desks. And so it seems like, hey, it's not just me saying this. The less than 15% left on Bitcoin left on there signals for a potential supply problem. Their exchange reserves dropping to 10-year lows, and it's happening very quickly. And even the banking system is seeing a rise in Bitcoin companies holding Bitcoin on the balance sheet. And we're going to get into this in a second. And I've told you guys this a few times for those of you guys who have come to the channel. But Strategy, being the pioneer, having Bitcoin on the balance sheet, utilizing the $300 trillion global bond market to buy more and more Bitcoin. Well, this might be the most underappreciated story of 2025. And Michael Saylor is not slowing down anytime soon. These things keep coming and coming and coming. And we're going to dive into what Michael Saylor is doing. But I think the unique aspect of all of this here is just how many of these Bitcoin treasury companies we're starting to see come online. I mean, in the past 30 days alone, we're seeing 22 more entities come on, and this number has now reached 160. It's going to keep increasing, right? Every time I come and do a live stream with you guys, I show you guys this, and I feel like this number just keeps increasing. The governments, that's going to be moving slow. Private companies, well, there's probably more than 50 private companies if I had to put it out there, and they're just not disclosing. But the unique thing is a lot of these companies and other ETF funds, I mean, look at the amount of entities just exploding up. And they still don't even have one Satoshi, right? Or 1 million Bitcoin. That day, I think, is coming soon with the amount of money getting poured in. But I think it's interesting what we are seeing, because everybody and their mother is realizing, hey, we can get together and we can take a loan out, a business loan, or we could raise money very quickly in order to buy Bitcoin. Well, you could do that on a personal level as well, where you don't have to sell, utilizing Salt Lending. I've been looking for ways to not have to sell my Bitcoin to invest in my business, fix up the things on the house, little things like that. I want to benefit from the profit here. And this is why I've partnered with Salt, because they've got one of the best products there is. You can get cash instantly. You can get rates as low as 8.95, and you could borrow up to 70% of LTV. And they've even got this new Salt Shield as well. So it's assurance that you will not get liquidated, so you can borrow against your Bitcoin, and with a company that is never going to rehypothecate. And they're giving free exclusive offers to the Green Candle listeners for you guys coming to these live streams as well. So you could go to saltlending.com/green-candle. It's also the link in the bio, or the link is in the show notes down below. So be sure to check those guys out and get this exclusive offer just for the Green Candle listeners. All right. They told me that, hey, we want to make an exception. We like what you guys are. We like the candle fans over here. We want to give them something special. So we're going to do that. And then I'm going to give you guys some free sats for coming here. So make sure you guys go to bitcoinwell.com/green-candle as well to sign up. You can get 500 Wishing Well tokens and then 500 the first time you buy. So you can get 2 chances to win 1 million sats, excuse me. But make sure you guys are hitting that subscribe button with the bell notification so you know when you could come and get potentially up to or more than 560 sats we got this time. So bitcoinwell.com/green-candle, purely self-custody. And it looks like we got some doomers in the chat here. Michael saying that there's a crash incoming. This is crazy. What are you guys talking about? How can you be so bearish? There will be no BTC pumps while alts are pumping too. Come on. That's crazy. TF is saying, I will take 103K, 15% discount. I don't see all this. TF is saying, all the news about whale sales, I bet strategy copycats are getting ready. And I think the lineup of what we saw previously, we saw OTC desks have loading up and getting 416,000 Bitcoin back in October of last year. They knew right away, hey, these things are coming, because they saw Michael Saylor, what he's doing. And MSTR, what they're doing now, they are now going more all in. They're announcing a price offering for its stretch preferential preferred stock, STRC, offering upsizes deals from 500 million. And look what happened right away when Saylor launched this. Literally the largest US IPO of 2025 happened really quickly. 2.52 billion. And look, it's like, nearly 50% as big as this Venture Global, 50% larger than the second biggest. And MSTR has 2 of these, 2.5 billion here, 1 billion here. I mean, the amount of money being poured into MSTR so they could just keep doing this. It all started with $250 million to buy Bitcoin. But they're continuing to rise up their strategy metrics. They're going to keep getting more and more Bitcoin on per share, excuse me. Their 1 year return is 153%. Their Bitcoin holdings keeps getting higher and higher. And Saylor's not slowing down. So I think that they're going to keep coming on. There's more of these treasury companies as well. I mean, I'm lining it out here, guys. Saylor's literally retweeting, mentoring all of these different people. We had Semler Scientific the other day, buy some more. The NYC Bitcoin Treasuries Unconference is now happening here pretty soon. We've got Saylor retweeting all of this stuff like this here, where he's literally saying, hey, Bitcoin's new supply is 450 Bitcoin per day. Look at these buy announcements. It's a long list. MSTR 50 billion authorized ATM, which is about 500,000. STRC IPO 2.5 billion. It's closing on Tuesday. Atom Back 1.5 billion. Meta Planet. I mean, the list goes on and on, all of these guys. So this is a long-winded way of saying, hey, there's only 450 Bitcoin put on exchanges every single day, or from getting mined and everything else. And the amount on exchanges and on OTC desk is falling very quickly. The amount on exchanges is at 2.14 million right now. I mean, with all this buying pressure, how can you not add up, or how can you not see that the demand is skyrocketing in flight while the supply is coming down and coming down very quickly? I mean, it seems like it's going to continue to go up. You guys are asking, all right, what do you see for MSTR this cycle? I mean, there's a lot smarter guys than me that are seeing that. 315 this cycle. Hey, I like that, man. Knox is right. It's crashing up. It's just dollar what goes low. That's why Americans get all-time highs in money. Other countries do not. That's actually not true. All other countries are getting all-time highs in their currency very quickly and faster. So, it's just based on what it's priced in, right? I mean, if you're looking at Bitcoin priced in dollars, well, you see an all-time highs coming. But euros, it's also over 100,000. If you look at it priced in all of the different currencies, Bitcoin's skyrocketing up, right? I mean, it doesn't seem to be slowing down anytime soon. The amount of Bitcoin on exchanges just keeps popping up. I mean, we had Semler Scientific and others also buying Bitcoin. I mean, these things are happening extremely quick. And they're not slowing down. The amount that they're mining is just, not even going through. And then, we've got Saylor literally just retweeting all of these companies. Hey, they just acquired 225 Bitcoin. It doesn't sound like a lot, but hey, Michael Saylor is now putting a lens on them, right? So what does that do? That helps with marketing of, all of these Bitcoin buys. That helps with marketing of this company because Saylor has such a big following as well. These things add up a little bit here or there, right? We've got, Semler Scientific, Joe Burnett, friend of the program, talking about them buying Bitcoin as well. And I mean, we've got the big dogs coming in, right? Dylan LeClaire and Meta Planet are absolutely just, like he lines out all of these things very, very well. So what Michael Saylor is doing, the flywheel effect, The preferred stock offering with the shortest effective duration looks to have the largest initial IPO. Extremely valuable data point. The shortest effective effective duration. Excuse me there, folks. I'm slipping up on my words here. And this data point, I mean, hey, we're starting to see these public companies come in and keep buying more and more Bitcoin, right? I mean, look at this. Tesla's selling off. Tesla almost getting knocked out of that top 10. I wouldn't be surprised to see another company start to come in, especially now that we have Block that is on the S&P 500. So if Block is on the S&P 500, well, now they have access to more and more options here for debt, because they're going to just essentially get into and have a bunch of people buying their stock just indirectly, right? So you guys know I love to show this, but the MSTR flywheel, right? These are what all these companies are starting to do. Issuing debt to buy more Bitcoin. The Bitcoin price increases, market cap increases, thus their weight in indices. So it is the theory that MSTR will join here very soon. They will join the S&P 500. But I think that that's going to continue to rise up here, right? Because, hey, I always say be very cautious with going all in on MSTR and all of these others, right? Because we look at the MNAV. That's what these guys look at, right? So let's look at this. They report their MNAV as 1.75. So when the MNAV is closer to 1, Michael Saylor came out and said this in his talk, actually, when he went and talked at BTC Prague. When the MNAV is closer to 1, that means they have about a 1-to-1 holding with their Bitcoin holdings, with about as much cash as they have. So they've essentially maxed out. So they either have to, 1, come up with new products, which they've been doing, or 2, hold off on buying until their MNAV goes a little bit higher. Maybe that takes the Bitcoin price going a little bit higher. And then I also think, once that happens, we'll continue. Once the MNAV of MSTR goes higher, well, they'll have more room to offer, right? So this will be interesting, especially seeing this flywheel here, where once they join the S&P 500, that'll shoot up. But Block is already there, right? So the MSTR market cap, they're issuing equities to buy Bitcoin. That's what they keep doing. BTC price increases, market cap increases, weight in industries. So they'll issue more equities to buy more Bitcoin. That's just going to keep happening, right? So you got to keep finding ways to scoop up as much Bitcoin as possible, because this HODL 15 Capital, like lining up all of these companies. I mean, look at this. It's just, the list goes on. And these are just announcements in the recent days. I mean, these things, the amount of Bitcoin on exchanges after these announcements, like the human history, we've never seen an asset or anything like this before. So, Adam Back, who is essentially named in the Bitcoin, or he wasn't essentially, he is named in the Bitcoin white paper for citing his work on Hashcash. He's a Bitcoin OG, and now he's going all in on these Bitcoin treasury companies. Now, of course, they're talking about paper Bitcoin summer and all of these different things here on Twitter, which is hilarious to say the very least. But, I still think that this flywheel still remains true. They're utilizing the old system to go into the new system, right? So I think these things are going to start to crank up, and we might see Bitcoin's price subsequently skyrocket in flight here pretty soon. So make sure you guys are smoking that like Cheech and Chong and hitting that subscribe button, telling a friend to tell a friend, and I will catch you guys all at the next one.